Good Monday morning, everybody. It is Monday, the 13th of March. I am sitting in Nashville, Tennessee, coming to you this week, visiting for a conference. And we're going to take a look at Unit 2. I will be getting your feedback to you for all of Unit 1 fairly quickly. So keep an eye out in your grade book for that. I will also post a video later this week about what to do with that feedback when you get it. But it is very important that you take a good look when you get a grade, not just at the number, but at any advice that I gave you or any suggestions I have for improvement, because of course that is the goal here, not to be perfect from the very beginning, but to improve as we go through. So Unit 2, starting today, we are going to be taking a look at a couple of different things. Let me get that pulled up and then we'll get going. All right. So in your Blackboard course, you will notice that, of course, the videos that I've posted in the samples and things like that are all in the announcements. I know that at least a couple of you have seen those because you have sent me nice emails about them, and I appreciate the feedback. I also just really appreciate you staying in touch if something's going on, if something's going to be running late. Several of you have been doing that, and I really, really appreciate it. One of the things that's a little bit scary about online classes is that it's really easy to just kind of disappear. So please make sure that you reach out and talk to your instructors if there's anything going on that's going to mean you're late or that you couldn't complete an assignment, whatever the case may be. So anyway, last week, in addition to the weekly walkthrough, there were a couple of tools. If you haven't taken a look at those yet, one is just some basic how to succeed in online courses. That's an infographic for you to check out. And then I also posted a Word document that looks like the descriptive paragraph would look. And I'm going to do that again this week. I'll give you a little kind of template. There is an APA template in the course in Unit 1 and under the APA 7th edition materials. But sometimes I think it's helpful to have one that's really set up for this particular assignment. I don't know. I just feel like that is helpful from time to time. So we are in Unit 2. And we are starting the process of learning how to write an essay. Most of the assignments that you're going to do in English 110 are going to be 1 to 2 paragraphs long. And then in Unit 7, you will turn in your only major essay, which is the argument essay. Now, we are going to be starting work on that early in the term. This particular assignment this week doesn't play directly into the argument assignment. It just gets you some skills that will help you with that. But later, all of the writing assignments kind of play into the actual final product. So it's even more important to make sure you keep up, make sure that if you are running behind that you contact me and we get you caught up as soon as possible, because all the pieces and parts do come together and create an argument essay at the end. So keep that in mind as we're going through these units. In this unit, of course, we are going to be focusing on finding sources, which means learning how to navigate the library. The great thing about libraries these days is that you literally do not have to leave your house to go to the library. And so you're going to be using the post-university library to find sources. You're also going to be learning about how we determine whether something is a reliable source or an unreliable source. There's a lot of talk about that in current culture with fake news, that sort of thing. But there are some very specific things that you can look for to help you know whether or not the source that you are looking at is reliable or unreliable. We are also going to be getting into one of the hardest, I think, but also most important parts of research writing, which is integrating that information into your paper without accidentally plagiarizing. So there's two main ways that we show where we use our source material. One is, of course, to have that list at the end, right? Most people know that if I've got a research paper, it's going to have a list on the end. It might be called something different in English class. In high school, it was called probably a works cited page. We call it a references page because that's what APA calls it. But we have to have that list. The harder part is that we also have to have in-text citations within the paper itself. So we have to show in the paper where the items on the references list were actually used. So this week's lesson is so important, and it's something that you're going to use throughout your college writing career. It is expected by your other professors that you just know this stuff, which is why you're in English 110 and why all universities pretty much require this type of course. They may not call it English 110, but it's the same principle. How do I cite my sources, and how do I set up a paper? So this week we're going to be focusing on quotation, like direct quotation. That's fairly easy. We kind of know how to do a quotation because we have marks on the keyboard that are actually called quotation marks. So there's a little bit of a leg up there, but we don't automatically know what to put with that quote in order to properly cite it. So that's what you're going to be learning about this week. In terms of activities, of course, you're going to read, view, and engage with the readings and resources, everything in the folder before you attempt the 2 graded assignments, which of course is another discussion board. We have those every week. And this week, we also have a writing assignment, just like we did last week, where you will turn in a formal document with a cover page and a paragraph. And in this case, you will also be adding a reference page. You'll only have one thing on it, but we're still going to call it a references page. So let's take a look at the readings and resources. I like to call this the learning. This is where the learning takes place. So in any class, you have to learn something new in order to successfully complete the graded assignments. I like to call it learn before you earn. And that's another reason why you want to do these units in the order that they appear, because the way they are set up, it will guide you through what you need to know before you turn around and do the graded assignments. So first one this time out talks about building an essay. This is one of the things that people really struggle with. And you may have been told by a high school English teacher never to use I. And that is true. You want to write in academic professional language, which is third person objective voice. So this will help you with that. There's a couple little readings there to do. The second section is about finding reliable sources. And we have an article to read from your normal textbook. And then there is an optional tutorial, but I would really highly suggest doing it. I know it's only optional, but it is a great resource. Academic Writer is a source that you can use all the time. It is posted over on the left with Grammarly. So you notice where it says Grammarly and Academic Writer. It's a great resource, and I highly recommend signing up for it early this term and utilizing it. The next section is where we get into actually direct quoting and citing evidence. So there's an activity for you to complete, a whole module, just like you did last time. Make sure that you go through all of this, because this is where you are going to learn how to do that citation. This also is going to go over quoting, paraphrasing, and summarizing, and we are going to be practicing those in later assignments. For the assignment this week, we're going to focus on quoting. I will also make a little plug. Whenever you incorporate a quotation into your writing, you don't want to just let it sit there all by itself. So you want to utilize usually some sort of introductory phrase. A lot of times it'll be like, according to John Smith, the author, or whatever. Those are helpful. And I will help you with those as we go through. Do your best with this one, and I can give you some feedback on ways that we can maybe smooth that in a little bit more. There is also information on how to use quotations in the APA 7th edition, which is over here again on the left-hand side. And then there's finally a video about the library. This is super, 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 super important, because you are going to be using library sources in all of the upcoming writing assignments, no exceptions. So this one will kick us off, but then from then on, we're going to be using the library for the other things that we're doing as well. So please make sure to take some time with that video. All right, so then you get to your 2 graded assignments. One is the Unit 2 discussion board, and in that one, you are going to be focusing on the difference between a reliable and an unreliable source, and why do you think in college we stress the use of reliable or even scholarly sources? Why do you think that is? In your responses to others, I like this. A lot of people don't follow up with it, but I think this is a really cool way to do it. But when you're responding to others, make sure that you provide an interesting, unreliable source for your classmates and or me, of course, to consider. Remember that the source should still be appropriate for discussion in the classroom, but let's see who can find the most interesting, unreliable source. Now, this week is when the regular schedule takes hold. So your own post, meaning your discussion about reliable and unreliable and scholarly sources, needs to be posted by Wednesday night. And then you have until Sunday at the end of the unit to respond to at least 2 other students. Now, here's my advice as far as discussion boards. Your own response to the prompt should be at least 2 paragraphs, because you got 2 sentences to answer, 2 questions to answer. Your responses to others will probably not be as long, but you do want them to be more than, I liked your discussion, or you are smart. Those are great things. Praise is always wonderful, but you want to have substantial responses to others. So aim for at least 3 to 5 sentences and try asking them a question to kind of keep that discussion going. Then we get to the Unit 2 assignment, which is the supported paragraph submission. So that's what we are looking at. There is an assignment guide, which we have talked about. I highly recommend printing them out. And then you will submit that using the same technique, hopefully you used last week, to submit your work through Blackboard that we went over. It is linked again here as far as how to submit that assignment on Blackboard. This is a document that you upload. You are not going to be writing this in the box. It's very important. It's always really hard to get people used to, but part of the problem is just the way Blackboard is set up, because it literally says write submission. So people just want to click on that. But I went over it last week. I'm going to go over it again. And by the end, you'll be a genius at doing this sort of thing. But let's look at the assignment sheet first. Okay, so this is the one that I would print. And you can link this. This is also linked on that first page, the course overview or whatever it was called. So this is one of the ones that I said you might want to print out. You are going to be using an assigned article for this. You do not have to go to the library and find an article for this. You already have one found for you, but it is from the library. So you'll notice there is a reference citation here. This is going to go on your reference sheet. So I'm actually going to I'm going to highlight this. And I'm going to share the Word document with you. So this is what I'm using. I'm going to fix a couple of things here because this is a makeover from an earlier one. We're not going to need these, but we are going to need the one I just copied. So I'm going to use match formatting. It did not save my italics, doggone it. So I'm going to italicize that. and it didn't do the underline, which is great. We don't want it to do the link. So this is exactly what your reference page will look like. And I am going to share this document with you. So no excuses for having a wrong references page, because I've literally done it for you. Now, this article does not have an author. So when you introduce the quote, which you will do, you could use the title, according to characteristics of gritty and resilient people, comma, quote, blah, 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 blah. Or you can use the journal title. That's another legitimate way of introducing a source. So you could say in an article in curriculum review, blah, 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 blah. Okay. The article above that you should read first, of course, provides you with several, excuse me, characteristics related to grit and resilience in people. How do you access the article? That's where this link comes in, because it is a link. So if I click on that, it's going to take me to the library. I will have to sign in. In order to read the article, I come over here to where it says PDF full text. And if I want to double check my citation, the cite button over here, you scroll down, you see it's exactly the same. So that's one of the benefits, of course, of using library sources, is that the citation is provided for you. The text itself, we have to click on the PDF. If it was HTML, sometimes the whole page will just go down and you can read the article itself, but you do have to click on this and see the article. Now you can pick a quote from, really, it's only one page. You can you can choose any quotation that you want to from it. Here's the list of things. There's also a little paragraph about role models, resilience, mental health connection, learning to cope. You can choose anything that you want to quote from there. And that's what you're going to cite. Now, what goes inside the in-text citations, I'm going to pick one. I'm going to pick one of these. Okay. One of the things I like about using online library sources is that I don't have to retype it in order to quote it. So I'm going to come up here and I'm just going to pretend that this is relevant, but we're going to talk about I'm going to introduce it by the journal. Oops. When we put our citation in, we need the date. We actually need the title and the date, because it's whatever comes first in the references page. I do not have to use that whole title, luckily, but the title was characteristics of gritty and resilient people. So I'm going to use characteristics. And it was 2020. That's all I really need. I think it does tell you in the assignment sheet to use the page number, because it is available. It was on page 6 of the original journal, so we can just put page 6. If you forget that, it's not the end of the world. I'm going to get rid of the end. Curriculum review. Names one. Key characteristic. And this will be my quote. Now, after that quote, I'm going to talk about it. So this paragraph is a fake paragraph, but if I were really writing this paragraph, then I'm going to have additional discussion here of probably telling a story about myself and maybe automatically judging myself too harshly. So you may end up still using first person in this particular assignment. We're going to be getting less and less into first person as we go. I would try to do this one without it, but if you want to tell a story about your own life that is relevant, that's certainly fine. What you don't want to do is say, I think, I saw, I read, I feel, I whatever. we know it's you thinking it because it's your paper. So it's okay to just state it. But in this particular case, if I wanted to tell a story, I probably would use I. All right, so this is exactly what your document is going to look like. In terms of, here, let's change the title to something that's more relevant to you guys. And the title appears on both page 1 and page 2. Okay, when we are done, we're going to save that. I've already saved it in the right words. And then we're going to turn it in. So we're going to come back over here. We're going to click on the link to submit it. We're going to skip the right submission box. No, 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 that was a bad one. Click on Browse Local Files. This is the one we just did. We're going to need to agree to send it to the global database, and we click Submit. So those are your 2 assignments: discussion board, paragraph. It does have to have a references page. It does have to have that particular article. This is not, you don't want to use a different article for this. You want to use the one that was assigned. If it helps you print out the assignment sheet, I think that's a good, I already closed it apparently. I think that's a good way to do it, because you can kind of use it as a checklist. And if you have any questions about the assignment in general, or, even something specific about the assignment, post it on the Ask the Instructor discussion board. Remember, there's 2 ways to get there. You can click on Ask the Instructor. You can also click on Discussions, and it's right there at the top. If you have a personal question or something that whole class doesn't need to know, then email me. Like I said, I'm working at a conference this week, so I'm going to be pretty busy, but I will be able to check email and all that. So email, honestly, is probably the fastest way of getting in touch with me this week. Okay. So I hope everybody has a great Unit 2, and I'll be giving you more resources this week as the week goes on. So keep an eye out on those announcements as well. Everybody take care and have a great week.